In this video, we're going to factor quadratics in the form x squared plus bx plus c. So in this type of quadratic, this is the easier one. It's where you don't have a number multiplied by x squared. So this would be 1x squared. So there'd just be 1 as the coefficient. So we're going to start with this quadratic and we're going to break it down to its simpler parts. So a lot of times you start with x plus a number times x plus a number, and you can use FOIL, multiply, and you'll end up with this resulting quadratic. So we're just going to factor it back to this form. In order to do that, we're going to look at the b, the number that's multiplied by x. We're going to find two numbers that add together to equal that b term. And we need to find the same two numbers that when multiplied together, they equal a c term. And those will be the values where we have x plus one of them and x plus the other one. Obviously, if one was negative, it would be minus in the parentheses. So let's get started. We're going to factor these. So first thing, the number multiplied by x is always, that's referred to as my b term. The value added on at the end, that's c. So I need to figure out what two numbers I can add together to equal my b term, which is 7, and the same two numbers are multiplied together to equal 12. Okay, so they're both positive values, so I know that I'm multiplying them and they're going to be positive values multiplied together, and the same ones are going to be positive added together. So the easiest thing to do is start looking at what two numbers multiply together to get 12. So I'm just going to write some of my factors. So we know 12 times 1 is 12, but 12 plus 1 is not 7. So then I'm going to say 6 times 2 is 12. All right, but 6 plus 2 is not 7. I know that 4 times 3 is 12. So these are all the factors of 12. I'm just breaking it down. 4 times 3 is 12. Oh, this one, 4 plus 3 gives me 7. It doesn't matter which one goes in front. See, you have to have the same numbers add together to get the b term, multiply together to get the c term. Okay, and then I just have my two sets of parentheses. X starts in each of them, and one of them is x plus 4. And the other is x plus 3. It does not matter which one's in front. If we redistribute, we will end up with this answer. If you want to check your work, make sure that you did it correctly. You can always check your work. So I'm just going to do the first one where we go back, check our work, see if we go back and get this answer. So we have x times x is x squared. X times 3 is plus 3x. 4 times x is plus 4x, and 4 times 3 is 12. Combine like terms, x squared 3x plus 4x is positive 7x, bring down the plus 12. So I checked my work, I got back to the same answer so that I know this is the correct answer. You can always do that on any of these problems. All right, next one. We need to see what two values we can add together to equal -3 and multiply together to equal -10. Okay, so this one is a little more tricky. We know that the only way to get a negative when we multiply is to multiply a positive times a negative. So you know one value is going to be positive, one value is going to be negative. And they have to equal -3 when added together. So I'm going to look at the factors of -10. All right, we have -10 and positive 1, which won't give me -3. Again, positive 10 and -1, but that won't give me -3. We have -5 and 2. -5 plus 2 is -3. So I know -5 and 2 are my values because -5 plus 2 is -3. -5 times 2 is -10. So I have x minus 5 times x plus 2. Be very careful with the positive and negative. You have to pay attention because if I had done positive 5 and -2, well, that would give me a value of positive 3, not negative 3. So be very careful with the positive and negatives. Now let's do a couple more. Right here, I need two terms that when I add them together, they equal 2, multiply together equal negative 24. Right, well, 24 and 1 can never give me 2, and I know one's positive, one's negative. It's the only thing that I can multiply together to get a negative value is a positive and negative. Well, let's see, we have 2 times 12, which you can never, no matter which one's positive or negative, never get 2 when you add them together. We have 3 and 8, which we can never get 2. We have 4 and 6. So you can always write out the factors, or you can start figuring them out in your head. So I know that 4 times 6 is 24. Negative 4 times positive 6 is 24. Negative 4 plus positive 6 is 2. So I know we have negative 4 and positive 6. Okay, so x minus 4 times x plus 6. And over here, what adds together to equal negative 10 multiplies together to equal 21. All right, again, you can list out the factors if it helps, or you can do them in your head looking at 21. We have 21 times 1. One thing we need to be careful about is how can you add two values and get a negative, multiply the same two values, get a positive? It means that they're both negative. If you want to, you can put little negatives to start with, because you know they're both going to be negative. All right, so negative 21 times negative 1 can't give me negative 10. We have negative 7 times negative 3. Well, if I add those together, I do get negative 10. So negative 7 and negative 3 will work for both of those. So it's x minus 7 times x minus 3. All right, hopefully those were fairly easy. This is the easier of the factoring quadratics. I'm going to give you a couple problems, see if you can do them on your own. And when you're ready, come back and I'll go through the answers with you. All right, so this one, what do we add together to equal 8, multiply together to equal 12? In this one, it's positive 6 and positive 2. So x plus 6 times x plus 2. All right, next one, we have to figure out what we add together to equal negative 6, multiply together to equal negative 27. All right, so this one is negative 9 and positive 3. So x minus 9 times x plus 3. Then here, remember x is the same thing as 1x. So we need to figure out what we add together to equal 1, what we multiply together to equal negative 20. Okay, so this one's 5 and negative 4. So we have x plus 5 times x minus 4. And again, it doesn't matter if you have x minus 4 times x plus 5, as long as the 5's positive, the 4's negative. So it doesn't matter which set of parentheses goes in the front. Okay, then over here, what we need to figure out what we add to equal negative 9, what we multiply to equal 14. On this one, they're both negative, so we have negative 7 and negative 2. Okay, so we have x minus 7 times x minus 2. Hopefully you were able to factor these quadratics.